Gonna be
You
around to
can't even,
collect.
yeah, right.
Oh,
It'll all be
great.
made.
Yeah. Uh, the stick. Am I confident that Milrow plays today? Uh,
Are we live? Not our fault that we're late, right? Josh ran late. Isn't it only like 6, 7 games today for basketball?
I don't know. I didn't even look at NBA yet. Yet I did bet it, so that's shady.
I know I got a ton of hockey bets in already. That makes me so happy. We got like
Mm,
13, 14. Oh, there's 2 on the board right now. Let me pop these in, Ben, before we get started.
go ahead.
Hey, just I have the portfolio EV screen up on the desktop. So
Yeah,
I
I
can
have a second computer to the left of me with it up.
just jam them. I think I have like 20 some hockey bets in, which is a lot. And by the way, all on almost exclusively on FanDuel where the limits aren't nearly as tight. So that just makes it so much better. Hey, welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL First Look Strategy Show, Week 18. The ultimate shit show. I'll tell you, I was a little was coming into this one. I was like, I don't know, man. We had the old 10:30 hockey game last night. Stopped at Wawa afterwards, got home
Woo!
after midnight. I mean, by God, it was a day. You're up at 6. You're like, I don't know about this. I started digging into it. I really kind of like this slate. Now, that may sound insane. It's a
Yeah, it
13
does.
game slate. You have a ton of teams that are just flat out nothing to play for. Here's some quality multitasking as I place this bet.
I'm doing this. I'm literally doing the same thing. So
Yeah.
the show is bear with us. It's the end of the year.
Dude, I put in extra time. At first, I would never mail anything in, but I was like, maybe we just kind of go through it together. I won't look at a ton because I have a betting video where I have to do all 16 games for this shit. And
Yeah, good
that,
luck with all that.
well, the betting is way more difficult than DFS. DFS, you can just isolate, right? Now, you'll do that for betting, but not when you have to do a video like that. So I'm doing like, you know what? Fine, we're going to go all in. So I did, Ben. I put some extra work in, and I think I got some good stuff for you guys that'll help you out along the way. I know Ben will as well. What's going on, brother? You've been doing some playoff best ball drafts.
I've been doing a little everything. Bowl season, playoff, best ball. I'm getting my dipping my toes in there, and obviously we got the regular betting. We're gonna talk about some fun things for New Year's. We got a fun sale on the odd shopper side, and then we got regular DFS. Life is pretty good as we round out the year. Uh, yeah, I feel good. I don't know. These slates are. I want to hear why you're a little excited because it's weird. These are weird games. The season's dragging. A lot of teams with nothing to play for out there.
Well, the reason I'm excited, by the way, happy to have you guys with us. If you don't mind, take a single second, atone for your sins this fine morning. It's New Year's Eve. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. New Year's Eve too. What a dumb thing. Subscribe.
Awful.
Nothing ever changes.
I mean, it's just everyone knows this now, but it's always been the single most overrated, whatever you want to call it, day, holiday. I can't remember the last time I had a good New Year's Eve.
Well, I'll tell you with certainty, I will not be awake at 12 o'clock.
No, no chance.
And also, but yeah, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you guys in advance. Leave a comment down below. Happy New Year's anyway. But I remember the first time I watched the ball drop, and because everyone had always talked, I saw it. I go, that was the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Now, for what it's worth, I'm a patriotic American, Ben.
Mm.
We have our issues, but you know where I stand. If you're gonna do it, do something spectacular. It drops at like 1 mile per hour.
You've never gone and like you're not talking about.
Are you kidding me? I would rather gouge my own eyes out with a fire poker.
Mm. It's
That
about the same
what?
experience, let me
Well,
tell
I'm
you.
serious. You have grown men wearing diapers to watch the ball drop in 20-degree temperatures. Either you're a masochist or you're a moron. There's no other answer.
No,
There's
it's
not.
yeah, you're just well, both of them. That's a square rectangle because whether you're a masochist, you're a moron either way. So it doesn't really matter. Like you're either just a straight moron or you're both. So, not a fan. I've been in the city on New Year's Eve several times, and it's what you think it would be.
I would never want to do that ever.
Yeah, I've had a
Uh,
couple. Yeah. Whew.
Jake Jake DeWitt said it's all because the women want to do it. Well, I must have done something right in life
Yeah.
because if I asked my wife if she wanted to go watch the ball drop, she would laugh in my face, and
Yeah. She would
rightfully
mention
so.
a fire poker. There's no doubt. She'd be.
100%.
Yeah.
She's even the type that's like, yeah, I really don't want to go to, Disney World with these kids.
Yeah.
Now,
Smart. I don't want to do
because
that either.
it's like, well, if I ever, maybe wait, no, Disneyland or Disney World? Is Land the Florida one?
May.
Disneyland is by you. Disney
Okay.
World is in Florida.
I'd
Yeah.
rather go to World.
Yeah. I'd rather go to neither, honestly.
Well, yeah, yeah, but I'm just saying.
Look, yes, thank you, Eric. I knew there was something to that, like land, the LA inland. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe it would be cool. I don't know.
No, it wouldn't.
I just,
What are you talking? No, it wouldn't. It says case closed. We cracked the case.
yeah. It's Jake DeWitt, by the way. Congrats on drafters. I saw you took top spot, $7,500 in best ball. That's awesome, man. But yeah, no, look, if you're celebrating New Year's and you're having a party and stuff, zero hate from me whatsoever. I used to do it. I used to enjoy it thoroughly. Things have changed for me. But I don't hate on anybody for having a fun New Year's Eve party at all. I
Of
have to
course not.
work, but I have to work tomorrow. A lot of people have off on New Year's Day. Like I have stuff to do tomorrow. And it's
Yeah, I
just,
mean, it's
what?
even worse for me. It's one of the biggest college football days of the year. So,
Right.
like, I got stuff to do. There's a playoff game tonight. It's gonna be nice. We're just gonna get some food and chill out, and that'll be the day. But you know what? We're gonna finish this DFS slate in style. The rare week 18. How many years have they done this? I was thinking about that yesterday.
Have they done what?
Week 18. Was this
I
like
don't
3 years? Two
Three or
years?
four, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Probably after the COVID year. I don't know. 2021 it would be, obviously. I don't know.
Okay.
But they've only been doing the Saturday games for a handful of years as well.
You love those Saturday games.
Why would you not? They're so fun. For you it's different because you're a college football guy,
Yeah.
but for me, I love them. And that Broncos Bengals game was legit playoff style football. That was a phenomenal game. One of the best games of the year. And I got to watch it sitting there with my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my wife. We're all hanging out, drinking beers, watching games throughout the whole day and night. That's awesome.
I mean, it
So
was
yeah,
I'll give you that. Sick game. And yeah, listen, more football the better. Uh there's just a lot going on in week 18.
yeah. But now you got Saturday. So also just to set the table, let's dive straight into it. Um, to set the table, you have two Saturday games. Now, if you remember, we used to have legitimately 15 games on this slate. It used to be
Yeah.
15 games. And if there wasn't anything that was like, and I'm pretty sure about this, I could be wrong. I definitely could be wrong. So maybe I'm 50-50. I'm pretty sure I remember there being some weeks in week 17 where there wasn't even a Sunday night game. Everything was over by 420, like the 425 window.
You definitely could be right. I don't remember that. I feel like they would always flex something. But maybe at some point they went soccer style. And what I mean by that is like you put the full division at the same time slot. So like the
Right.
AFC North plays at 4, both sets of games because it's all division games.
Yep. Every year. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so now you have 13. It's a far more manageable slate. This is full circling back to your question. That's one reason this slate it appeals to me more than it would be if it was like a 15 gamer.
Mhm.
Wipe 2 out with the Saturday NFC North games, and then Vikings Lions must watch television. Cancel your plans. That game's going to be fantastic.
That's what I'm talking about. Now, these morons last night, you can get my goblin of the week right out of the way. But yeah, that game's gonna be can't miss.
I don't think they're morons at all for what they did. I love what Dan Campbell did. I love it. I
Uh,
love it.
there's nothing to love. It's a reverse free roll. You never want to reverse roll yourself.
You want your boys coming in hot, and that's what he did.
Uh-huh. You want them there. And
They
if
come in
what do you think we'd be talking about
18,
if Goff
and
was
he'll get
Purdy?
nailed to the cross, Ben.
Seriously, what do you think we'd be talking about today if Goff was Purdy and he got hurt on the last play?
we know what we'd be talking about. And Dan Campbell said as much. That was his quote. He said, I'll get it out of the way now. Look, say what you want. You guys can say whatever you want because I know I'm on an island here. I'm probably on the minority. I just love a coach that doesn't give a shit what people think. I like this guy plays to win everything. And you know what? Kill him
Not
for
Super
it.
Bowl apparently, but everything else.
You say what you want. The guy, he plays to win. His players love him. They play for him. And that's just the way it is. I'm a big Dan Campbell guy. You're not going to convince me otherwise, man.
He, I like anyone that does it their own way and is authentic. I really do. But that's just not it. The stakes are now too high for the Lions. You can't be screwing around anymore because they're too good. They're too good. Too good to be messing around with stuff like that.
That's your goblin, huh?
It's out of, I know this sounds kind of stupid, but it's actually out of respect because the Lions are that good. They could win the Super Bowl. You can't take chances when you can win the Super Bowl. When you're 5-12 and you want to be quirky, go ahead, do some stupid stuff. You can't be messing around. There were serious hits. You're playing the Niners too. I know it's football, but like the Niners got dudes. Goff took shots. Amon-Ra took shots. Laporta, that guy only takes big hits. Like all it takes is one thing. Now, ultimately they survived, but there was no reason to do that.
Goblin of the week for me. It could be the Titans might be the Goblin of the year.
That's true.
They might be the Goblin of the year. Antonio Pierce is up there. Eberflus is up there. I might actually but the real Goblin of the week, and I can't even blame them for it because you play to win. It's the New York Giants. Or arguably,
it's
no,
the Colts.
The Colts.
Yeah, it's the Colts.
It's both though. But at the same time, and I tweeted this on was it Sunday night or whatever? I quote tweeted Schefter saying how the Giants knocked the Colts out of playoff contention and in doing so knocked themselves out of the position for the #1 seed. That's why whenever I see this stuff in chat, no one in particular, but we see it all the time, especially on the deeper dive, right? Where it's like they're tanking. No. If you're trying to base DFS or betting decisions on the idea that a team is tanking, despite playing their starters, the only thing that would give you any inkling that they are tanking would be who they put on the football field. And if they put all of their players on the field who are normally on the field, there is zero reason to believe, unless you throw the tinfoil hat on, right? And you've got a grand conspiracy cooked up in there. There's simply zero reason to believe that a team would tank if everyone is on the field. Malik Neighbors was a game time decision and played. Why would you ever imagine that team is tanking? Now, look, I'm just using this as a specific scenario, but I think it's a great one. I think the Houston Texans 2 years ago was a great one when they were locking up the 1 seed with a loss and they ended up winning, right? So across the board, unless you're putting backups on the field, I have zero reason to believe you're deliberately trying to lose a football game.
Yeah, I mean, I think tanking gets thrown around too wildly. To me, this is just how I look at it. I obviously think this is the more correct way to look at it. You tank by the personnel, not by the effort. So like
that's what I'm saying. It's who you put on the field.
Yeah. So like teams definitely tank and teams definitely kind of put themselves in a position to lose, but not in the sense of like, we're not going to try to win. It's we're going to give some young guys some looks. We're going to rotate pieces in and out. We're going to do stuff like that. So yeah, whoever's out there is playing to win. I think all in all, that doesn't change, but obviously I think there's plenty of situations where you see it in basketball more. You just put guys out there that realistically are at a talent disparity.
Exactly. Sixers were amazing at tanking. They just made the roster bad enough to tank. Like, you know what I mean? You try to win those games. The players did, but they never would. Exactly as Eric said, players don't want to tank.
No.
Boy, I hope we lose and get the higher pick. Right. The players, sure, if you're there for a long time, you'd love to get it. But most of those players are playing for themselves. It's self-preservation, man. Look at Drew Lock. You think he wants to tank? He knows he's not going to be there next year. Put on a good show over the last couple of weeks. Maybe Drew Lock ends up being a guy that garners some interest next year. Whatever. Anyway, let's get into it. Sorry for the long intro, but this was a crazy week, man. It's a crazy week and a lot going on. Would you like, when I say I put some extra work in, would you like me to give you the lay of the land as far as teams that have something to play for, have
Yes.
nothing to, yeah, okay. So teams that have something to play for, the Falcons, big time, right? Big time. Both early games. It doesn't matter what happens with the Bucks. Well, it does, but they won't know. So they got to win that game.
Yep.
Commanders are jockeying for the 6 or 7 seed. Dan Quinn said he's going to play his guys. I think he will. 6 or 7 seed could be pretty impactful depending on who you play. Pretty big difference if you want to look at all of that, right? Like it could be the Rams or Bucks, or they could get the Eagles at the link. So we'll see. Packers are in the same situation as the Commanders. So 2 situations to pay attention to. I don't know what they intend on doing, those teams entirely, but they can move, albeit only 6 and 7. Bucks, clear must-win game for the Bucks. Must-win game. Broncos, absolute must-win game. They're 10-point favorites. Andy Reid likely sits as starters, but I anticipate the Bucks being a popular team this week. The Dolphins are another one. We probably don't get Tua, but they actually aren't dead. If the Broncos lose and the Dolphins win, they're in, even though it's unlikely. Here's 2 wild ones, Ben. I don't know what McVay does. If they win, they have the 3 seed. They already locked up the division. If they lose, they have the 4 seed, but only if the Bucks win. So I don't know what he's going to do. We don't know if McVay is going to play his starters. I tend to lean against him playing them full reps. And then the Chargers, but the Chargers only have something to play for if the Steelers lose on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's different levels to this. I always kind of do this in my mind, and unless it's extreme, I don't really pay attention to it. Like there are certain teams you mentioned right off the top, the Bucks, the Falcons, like you win and you're in, you lose and you're 100% eliminated. You don't even force the other team to win. Those teams we know. Then you have teams that are more nuanced where it's like, you mentioned the Rams and Washington, those teams. All in all, I think the teams in the middle are the ones that I'm most concerned about. But I think we're going to have so many options on this slate. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, to be honest.
I don't either. But there are some important ones. Like the teams that locked up a seed right now, Bills, Josh Allen's going to start, but only be so he can keep his streak intact. That's going to be a backup game. Eagles, I would be shocked if they try and get Barkley the record. If they were trying to get him the record, they wouldn't have pulled him right after he got 2,000 yards. So what are we talking about? What?
No, it's just, I couldn't agree more. If he was on the Lions, though, he'd have 45 carries in the next game and you'd be loving it. So I don't really understand what we're doing here. But
if they decided in that 4th quarter to keep giving him the ball and then he needed like 50 yards in week 18, I'd say do it for sure. I would say do it. But what they wanted to do is get him 2,016 games instead of 17 games. It was pretty obvious. And Lane Johnson said it in his post-game presser. They pulled him right after he got it.
Yeah.
So why are we assuming that he's going to go in and they're going to try and get him 100 yards? I don't think that's the case at all.
Neither do I.
Texans are locked up, but they're going to play starters. I don't want to play them, but they're so lifeless right now. If they limp through this game, they're done in the first round and it's not even close. Chiefs are going to sit their starters and maybe the Chargers if the Steelers win. Now, here's the other one. The Patriots may sit Drake May. I also wouldn't be surprised if Shanahan sits a lot of starters after the Brock Purdy injury. It wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me if Ricky Pearsall just ends up being an interesting play. And then you have the Panthers, Cowboys, Giants, Bears, Jags, Colts, Saints, Titans, Cardinals, Seahawks, Raiders, and Jets. I think most of them play their starters, but they're mostly ugly teams. So that's it.
Yeah. I mean, there's also, again, you can drill down further and you alluded to it. There are some teams that they're in a position that they want to be in, but are they playing the football that they want to play? I mean, how many times have we seen over the years, Green Bay comes to mind a couple times, where you get hot at the right time and you go into the playoffs. I mean, Cincinnati would be that team. If they get a minor miracle,
time.
Who the hell wants to play them?
Nobody.
Yeah, they would be like the last team. And then on the flip side, and I'll give you some credit. I was gonna just steal this, but I'm not going to. the Texans. Like, do they jump on the Titans from the go and treat this as yeah, the game is not important, but it's important for us to not go in basically in a free fall. We looked awful on Christmas. If you look awful against Tennessee, like, are you in the playoffs almost like a lame duck like the Eagles were?
I said the same thing in my video, that the Eagles are the perfect comp for this Texans team right now.
That's what I mean. You don't want that at all. So like there is some incentive to just maybe get right in a way.
Definitely. But also, if they get right in the first half, that's the thing. We see it in the preseason, like not a good enough effort. Starters are playing in week 3, and then they play and they score on their first 2 drives and they're out. I bet the Texans first half money line or first half spread at what, half? I think lay half a point.
So did I.
I'd rather do that. I don't love them for DFS, but I'm with you without question. It's like the Eagles from last year. So a few spots. Yeah. Seahawks should play Geno, and those guys, we'll see. We're going to have more information as the week progresses. Incentives. Baker Mayfield. This guy, do you know he has almost 4,300 passing yards and 39 touchdowns?
Yeah. I mean, he's good. He's not going to pay off. You know, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. That draft is fascinating, though. One of the most fascinating quarterback drafts ever.
Who were the other ones in it?
Josh Allen, Darnold, Josh Rosen, Lamar. Like,
well, Baker now is standing up. I mean, clearly you wouldn't take him ahead of Lamar or Allen, but you'd take him third, right? For sure.
Yeah, I mean, he went first, which that was.
For sure. But I'm saying, like, Tampa Bay's pretty happy with him.
Him and Darnold were
Darnold for sure
were busts, and they have really represented themselves well. And if Josh Rosen had a fair shot, we'd be talking about him too, but he didn't.
You will never live that down. You love that guy.
Yeah, because he could have been good.
Baker Mayfield's going to hit all of his incentives for like $2.5 million, but incentives don't matter here. They have a huge game.
They already have the ultimate incentive.
Yeah, Geno Smith has incentives. He's going to play. Also, he gets a big bonus if they get 10 wins. Evans needs 85 yards to 1,000. Derrick Henry needs 2 touchdowns for 500,000. Barkley, but I don't expect anything. And Dobbins needs 5,800 for like 150K. That's it. Not a ton of incentives. So I figured I'd get you guys all of that. Now we can get. I mean, we already got started because if you don't lay the foundation for this slate, there's no point of us even talking about it.
This isn't a normal slate where, like, I'm not saying we shouldn't go through, but to me, this is more let other people make mistakes on a macro level and don't do that. And then I don't really think it matters as much. Like, there's going to be people who don't pay attention to this stuff and just play guys that are only, it's like the preseason where it's more about not making fatal flaw mistakes than who you actually roster.
I think one of the fatal flaw mistakes people are going to make, I was thinking about it this morning, is they're going to start jamming a bunch of cheap running backs and stuff from, teams that have nothing to play for, or even possibly like receivers, or a cheap quarterback. And they're going to ignore that the entire team is different. Like the running back out there might get the workload, but if the quarterback and the pass catchers aren't there, and maybe some of even the offensive line isn't out there, that just because he's getting the workload doesn't mean he's going to be effective. And it could be a really, really ugly game. I think you could see a decent amount of people making those decisions at the running back position this week. And I'm going to try to avoid that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that's where, again, I think it gets a little tricky of that balancing act of, our team's going to get anyone involved because it has to consolidate. That's the key with all this stuff. You can run 3 guys in a backfield 8 times, or a team could give Tajay Spears, who, that was a ridiculous run out, but he was on pace for like 25 to 30 carries last week.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, did you see how that ended?
Which one?
Tajay Spears, that literally summed up.
Yeah, losing the 100. Yeah.
On a play where he got the concussion.
Amazing.
He's at 100 yards, and I'm like, he's rolling. He just loses 5 yards and gets concussed.
Eric Rona said the Megamind Genius play might be the Titans to get right this week. Don't do that. Don't do it.
I've been waiting for them to get right for 17 straight weeks.
Well, have you seen
he's saying the Texans. Okay.
Oh, wait, I thought he said Titans.
No, he said Texans.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I would say the Titans, there's no getting right.
Well, I was also going to say they intend on playing Levis and Rudolph this week.
Probably at the same time, knowing the Titans.
They're talking about evaluating these guys like it's a preseason game. Remarkable. Anyway, um, top quarterbacks. It's Baker for me here. I don't like if you wanted to make an argument that Jaden plays the whole game, you definitely could. This guy's been fantastic, but you simply cannot play Josh Allen. He's not playable. It's Jaden Dan. If you think Jaden Daniels plays the whole game, go for it. Kenny Pickett and Tanner McKee carved him up last week. But it's Baker and it's Daniels. Those are the only two guys up there that are going to see the field. And I think, depending on your thoughts on how Dan Quinn plays these starters, both of those guys are very viable.
Definitely viable. And yeah, don't go to Josh Allen. So one of the things, and we don't really say this that often, but you ultimately have to find ways to spend some salary. And last week was kind of like that. It was soft, and a lot of people got to Saquon and some of the pay up options because of it. It's going to be even tougher here, though. So, I'd say Baker is going to be, he's going to be really popular. He's coming off another monster game. The Bucks have probably like the number one clear mission. They know what they need to do. They have to do it. They'll be ready to play. I think that's going to be the obvious spot, but maybe there are pivots up there.
Yeah, we'll see.
Get
But
Josh Dobbs.
you're 100% correct that this is going to be a very popular spot.
How could it not be?
I mean, to be fair, it should be, but it's going to be really popular. Is Baker is your your number one top tier guy for right now?
I mean, I think he just has to be because we're doing this on a Tuesday. The news is going to be even more impactful. We'll get real evidence of who maybe will only see 2 quarters or 3 quarters or is full go. We don't have any of that with Tampa, so by default it has to be Baker.
It is. I'll go Baker too, but I'm very interested in Jaden Daniels against this Dallas team. If Quinn wants to get that 6th seed for sure. And then all right, so eliminate Mahomes from this next tier. Eliminate Purdy. There's just simply no way Purdy's playing here. I don't see why they would. Right? Why would they play Purdy?
No chance.
Jordan Love. I don't know what to make of Jordan Love at this point. I really would prefer not to go there. Kyler, and I think the chalk here is going to be Bo Nix. If you're talking 6 to 7K range, 6 to up to 7K.
Yeah, again, I think, and I'm guilty of this too. Everyone's guilty of this. It's uncomfortable to venture into the unknown, so people are going to gravitate towards the known. And we've talked about 2 quarterbacks kind of at length, and what do they have in common? These teams absolutely have to have it. Baker, Bo Nix, these are not ambiguous situations. So I'm with you. He's going to be really popular. I'm going to definitely look, though, and it'll probably be for my lower tier, at some of the guys that have nothing to play for but are young and have, personal stuff to play for. There's some names down there that caught my eye.
What about Kyler at 6K?
So that's impossible. I don't know what to do with him. He threw the ball 48 times against the Rams,
and they
put up 9 points. 9 points.
I mean, amazingly, this guy still had over 20 fantasy points with 1 total touchdown.
It was the recipe for like legitimately one of the best quarterback games of the year. 48 attempts. The guy had 32 yards rushing. Like he could have had so much and it just didn't materialize. Definitely playable for tournaments, but I'll be honest, Bo Nix and some of the paydown options I'd rather have, Bryce Young in particular.
So is Nix your mid-tier?
Yeah, I mean, the mid-tier is kind of gutted because a lot of the, I guess we could call them opt-outs or whatever, are in that tier. Mahomes, Purdy. I like Stroud in theory, but I don't think it's a given that he plays the entire game.
Me neither.
So, like, you can't do that.
I'll go Kyler here just to keep it. Okay. Actually, no. Why don't we can work it down into a little bit lower to make this the tier since there's so many cheap quarterbacks.
Okay. Well, then give me Bryce Young.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. For me, I think it would be for sure Anthony Richardson if he's healthy.
Yeah, I don't know again if they're gonna let him go. We'll see.
They said
Um,
if he's good, he's playing.
okay. I mean, there's a lot of incentive for them to play him. Like you need all the info you can get.
Another one, if again, if the Steelers lose, this is important. If the Steelers lose, the Chargers can move up and they can avoid a pretty. I actually think it's relatively important based on where the Chargers finish. Here's why, Ben. Wait till you guys hear this. I think this is the most important like 5-6, 4-5, 6-7 flip as far as jockeying for seeding goes. The Chargers can move up if the Steelers lose. The Bengals beat the Steelers on Saturday, so they'll already know. The Steelers can, or the Chargers can beat the Raiders and get the 5. That means that they avoid the Ravens and play the Houston Texans. To me, I would think any coach, maybe they don't care, but to me, I would think any coach would rather play this version of the Texans right now than the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh my God. I mean, there's not a. They just played those two, and I think you saw
Yeah.
what was happening on the field. So yeah, there is something clearly to that.
And the Ravens beat up on the Chargers. I wouldn't say beat up, but I mean, yeah, it was the tough game. Jim Harbaugh has a 0-3 record against his brother. So yeah, Herbert could be the guy, but we don't know. Come Sunday, I might have a lot of Justin Herbert. I'll tell you that much. It's very possible I could have a lot of Herbert by Sunday. But right now, give me Richardson there.
Yeah, again, Herbert's one of those wait and see options for me. But you have two guys that I think are really interesting in Bryce Young and Drake May. Drake May, I keep trying to make a thing. They were triple smoked against the Chargers. It did not work out. I thought he was clearly concussed, but he somehow stayed in the game, took a beating. But again, I think you can just go right back to him, weather pending.
Who would you go back to the cheap range? Would you go to Geno? Somehow Geno only has 17 passing touchdowns this year. A lot of yards, but none of that has materialized into anything good. Flacco, if he starts, I think at 5,400 against Jacksonville is a good play. I'll tell you what, this is not even chasing, but if Sirianni does what I think he's going to do and he sits his starters in week 18 and on defense as well, Drew Lock, Malik Neighbors.
I mean, there's definitely, we saw flashes of it last week, and Drew Lock, you mentioned he has a lot to play for. You know, these guys are auditioning for jobs, real career defining things. So I get it. There's just not that, there's a lot down there, but there's not a lot down there that has me interested. Like, you know, I don't think Penix has been awful, but I certainly am not impressed at the same time. I think he's just been serviceable.
He's been buoyed by Bijan for sure.
Yeah, because Bijan is unstoppable.
Bijan's the best running back play of the week.
Would you consider playing Josh Dobbs?
Maybe. Against Arizona, maybe. We saw flashes.
4.
What?
He's flat 4. To me, that's pretty interesting.
I think I probably would. But once again, see, these are the things I'm talking about. It comes down to, is Josh Dobbs playing with Juwan Jennings and George Kittle, right? And Debo, for whatever that's worth at this point. Or is he playing with backups, right? So if you're like, well, Purdy's out, the other starters aren't going to play, then no, I don't want Josh Dobbs with who does he have? Like Chris Conley and those type of guys? No interest in that. But if he's playing with all of the starters, then yeah, I would consider Josh Dobbs. I don't want him out there with Ronnie Bell and Jacob Cowing, though.
Yeah, I mean, again, we'll have to see. But from everything I heard last night, the Niners were pretty gung-ho about, like, you know, we have one standard around here, and it's you play.
I heard that too, and I'm wondering after they just lost. I know it's a minor injury, but like just lost Purdy. I don't blame them for playing the guys. You had 2 weeks to go, but that was week 17, not week 18. So now you go into the final week of the season, and I think it's a little bit different. Another thing, that's a Monday Night Football game, and this isn't even conspiratorial, but the league does not want you going out and just like resting starters in a primetime game. if you got a 13 game Sunday afternoon, I think it's a lot lower impact if you decided to make a move like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, again, they have nothing to play. This is not like a Detroit thing. Like, I think the Niners should play their guys. What do they? Who cares? What do you have to lose? You have a whole year. Even if someone gets hurt, it doesn't matter.
I would say yes, but I need more information. Come on, there's no way you'd want to play him with Jacob Cowing and Chris Conley as his pass catchers.
I mean, I'm not saying that's ideal, but if that's the case, you can build a stack a stack for like $10,000 and you can play anyone you want.
This is true. However, it's not preseason where you're facing backups on the other side. This would be backup offense against the starting defense. You can say whatever you want about the Cardinals defense, but they've been better than they were that was anticipated. So that's all I'm saying.
No, I hear you.
Give me Drew Lock down here. I think the Eagles sit their starters. And if I've got Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson out there, that's still to me a pretty discounted stack. The only guy you're paying for is Neighbors.
Can't go wrong. I mean, we just saw it. I'm fine with that. I'm gonna put Josh Dobbs in there though. Again, the caveat is we need to wait and see, but I still will put him as my low tier placeholder.
Fine with me. But you'd agree you'd like him a lot more if those guys are out there. Dobbs looks actually pretty great.
Yeah. Again, things have to break the right way. It's week 18. There's going to be if clauses to basically everything we say.
Would you play Huntley at 4,800 against the Jets?
No.
I don't want to do it either. He had a good game last week, and I don't know how. I was following that game, and I saw he had 24 DraftKings points afterwards, and I thought to myself, how?
I mean, the ability, like when you can score, if you're a quarterback and you score on the ground, it's basically impossible to have a bad game.
That's a good point, and he did. I think he had he had like 50 some rushing yards too. Yeah, that'll do it. All right, running backs. This is where it gets pretty fun. We got a flash sale going for Portfolio EV right now. Flash sale going, ushering in 2025, which means we're not doing a 25% discount. You get your first month for $25. I put something together I want to show you, Ben, right? Because I think a lot of people run into this issue, and we saw it, as a matter of fact, when we did the deal around Thanksgiving. All right, so pay attention. Jordan, throw that on the screen. Not that. Throw the one I gave you on the screen. So, did you not get it? So I was thinking about the idea that with Portfolio EV, this is what the trajectory looks like, right? It's just steady upwards, but you're always going to see some dips, always. Like that just happens with variance. You know, you grab a ton of unders in this. If 3 games go to overtime in an NBA slate, what are you going to do? You can't do anything about it. If a starter gets injured and you had unders on the other guys, starter gets injured. It is what it is. There's a million different ways, but over the course of time, and not even a long period of time, you're going to get the whole thing on there. If you just remove the lower if you can, because I want to show you guys something. You got to remove the lower, whatever it is. So this was my December with Portfolio EV. Okay. $6,200 profit. And mind you, I'm limited across these bucks. If you started, Ben, right at that top, see the beginning of December, like that first week of December, and you had that downswing, that's where most people who would start would quit and say, well, these aren't my plays. They get discouraged. They think they get screwed, and they're done. If you didn't stop there and you're like, okay, these are all back-tested results. Everything's back-tested. We know that these are long-term historical profitable bets, and you kept going, you go from basically $0 about 7 days into December to a $6,200 profit by literally doing the exact same thing you were doing throughout the entire start of the month. So for any of you guys who decide to join, links in the description, links in the chat, anyone who decides to join, you might jump in, and you might jump in right at the middle where you just see dramatic move upwards with basically no down days, because I've seen like one down day over the past 3 weeks. Or you might start at the top and your first few days look ugly. But this is what you see, and I could show you my whole year as well, or since the NBA season started. This is exactly what it looks like. And when you zoom out, that dip looks way, way smaller. It's like the Dow over the past 15 years. You could look at the COVID, right? You could look at COVID before the V-shaped recovery, and it looked horrible. It looked like the world was ending. If you zoom that out, it's a blip on the radar, and that's how Portfolio EV works. So I just wanted to explain that to anyone, Ben, who might jump in, because I actually have sympathy for anyone who jumps in and might jump in at the bad time, because the end of November was pretty rough.
Oh, there's gonna be ebbs and flows. This is not magic. This is, again, finding a way to grind and make money in an easy fashion, because we made the tools very simple. But the reason to tie this all together that I'm super pumped and why we did the flash sale the way we did, if you do this, you're in for a month, not a day, not a 24-hour trial, not 3 days. And then you say, well, that was kind of cool, but my entire trial I lost. If you do this for a month, there's not going to be a month dip. That's just not realistic. You know, there will be ebbs and flows. So the thing that's super exciting, you get in for a month. And if you're willing to say, you know what, I'm going to give it a month and I'm going to stick through, whether I start in a cold streak, start in a hot streak, start in a middling streak, then you get a real sense of what it's about. And that's all we really want. Is if you try it for a long time like that, a month is a nice sample, and you're putting in volume, you're using the mass entry tools, you're taking advantage of these markets, I'm pretty confident in saying good things are going to happen.
100%. I place every bet for my phone, every single one of them, with the mass entry tool. I averaged 70 bets around per day this month, and that was with the stupid Cup series going on for NBA when we didn't even have sports for like a week for the most part. So if you guys want to check it out, $25 the entire month. And please hit us up if you have questions. My DMs are always open. Ben's always in Discord. You get Discord access with a lot of strong. We just saw the one dude posted the 37,000 on the year with Portfolio EV.
There's some people doing, and that's the thing. You get in there and you get to say, hey, what are you setting for your OS rating? What kind of portfolio are you? And so you get to kind of work off each other, because this is not like DFS. Like, there's no reason not to, like, what's the difference? We're all working together against the books. So people are very keen to show their results and show their kind of blueprint for success.
100%, man. So it's only a day. This is over. This is over sale at midnight tomorrow. It's over. So jump in. It's probably the last sale we do in a while as well. We'd love to have you guys. And it's just, I can't say more good things about it because it works for me. Running backs, Bijan. I'm not even going to, I'll spare you everything. If Matt LaFleur plays all of his starters and they intend on just going full game, I think Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, and Bucky Irving, all four of them up top, are spectacular running back plays. It's going to be tough to differentiate. I'd still put Bijan number one. I would put, God, I'd have to put Taylor and Bucky right behind him, and then Josh Jacobs fourth, because Patriots already locked up a seed. But that, I mean, I just love the top tier running back. I can almost guarantee you I'll be paying up, and I could see this being a 3 running back week for me where I pay down in the flex for one of the others.
Yeah, I mean, that's a situation you're definitely going to have room to double dip, or even, yeah, have a handful of these guys. I'll make a small distinction. I think you agree. You got 4 good ones there, but to me, Bijan's in a tier of his own. He's just the best play, even amongst those guys.
Must win.
Just he checks. It doesn't mean you're going to play well, but he checks every single box that I would want.
Yeah. Every box. There's not a single box unchecked. There's a couple unchecked for Taylor, but he's been dominant lately. If your argument for Bucky Irving, the box left unchecked, would just be that Rachaad White is still there, that's a real thing. But Bucky Irving has taken over as well. Like this guy's taken over.
And it's a prolific offense. So like, you know, there's plenty of offense to go around, as we saw last week. Like everyone on the Bucs seemed to feast.
Here's what I'm going to do, and I want you to do the same thing. We're both putting Bijan at the top of the tier.
Yes.
I want to rank them, because for me, it's going to be Bijan, Bucky, Taylor, Jacobs, top 4. But I think all are playable, actually.
And for me, it would be Bijan, Bucky, Jacobs, Taylor.
What's the reservation on Taylor?
It's not a reservation. It's just, when I look at it, he's He's got 61 carries in the past 2 games. They're done. They're cooked. They just got eliminated. I think there's enough variance that they could say, okay, we don't need to give him 30 carries because we are eliminated. Richardson might come back. That's just more variance into the situation. I wouldn't be stunned to see Taylor's workload slightly reduced just because, again, what is the need to give him 30 more to close the year?
Uh, I would say I see it a little different. I don't think they pump the brakes at all on him.
I mean, that's again, I'm not
I
saying
think Steichen's fighting for his reputation and job at this point.
Well, that was last week.
That ship has sailed.
That ship has sailed. You just lost to the Giants. I don't think 30 carries for Jonathan Taylor is going to bring that back. So
you're probably right. Mid-tier, Charbonnet actually looks okay with Walker out. I think Charbonnet looks pretty decent. Dobbins, if the Steelers lose, Dobbins might get a lot of work if Edwards is out. I really, at this point, don't even want to touch anything from Tennessee. I don't know what's going on with Spears. I don't know what's going on with Pollard. This is a tier that I will probably eschew for the most part. I'll throw Charbonnet up there now, though. We know that Mike McDonald said we want to get this team to 10 wins, right? He's a rookie coach. I think these guys, if they're healthy, and he already said whoever's healthy is playing. Yep. I actually like Charbonnet a lot, especially if McVay decides that he doesn't care which seed he gets. Charbonnet could actually be one of my priorities this week.
Yeah, I mean, he's got, can't be phased out. Really represented himself well when he's gotten the opportunities. I'm fine with that. I don't love the range, so that's where it's really tricky. Like, obviously, I'm not going to play James Cook. Connor's banged up. I don't like Breece Hall. Pollard and Spears, that's a no. Tracy?
I like Tracy this week.
A lot of work. 20 carries, a handful of targets. They have incentive. He's a young guy. I think that's where I'm looking. I'm going to go to Tracy.
I was going to put him low tier. But if you want a mid-tier, no, go ahead. Throw him in.
Yeah, I'm going to go mid-tier with him.
Well, the only reason I was going to go low tier is because I like Dowdle at 5,800 too.
Dowdle's definitely in play. Yeah.
This is a team that even last week, did you know Dowdle had 100 rushing yards last week?
Quietly. I didn't know that, but he's just been solid. He doesn't, it's funny, for a back that doesn't have where he gets in trouble, he's not an extreme pass catcher, and they don't score that much. Like, he doesn't have.
Yeah. No flash from him. But,
yep.
But I still think, again, you go out there and you just get a massive workload from Dowdle. What would be the point of reverting back to like Ezekiel Elliott at this point? I don't think there's any point.
That should not happen ever.
I don't know how much cheaper I want to go though.
I think you can land there as the low tier. Like, again, the tiers are blurred this week because of the situation.
There is one though. Depending on what the Niners do, and if Benson and James Conner are both out, Michael Carter's cheap enough to where I think he would warrant a flyer.
That's another one that, again, on my little list here, there's the, you need the news to break your way. Like, you can't play him if you don't get the clearance, but if you do, he's 4,700. He had 13 carries. He can catch the ball. We know that. I'm going to go with him as my cheapie. Again, context. We want clarification on who else is in that backfield. I don't want a four-headed committee.
Neither do I. At all. But if all of those guys are out, Carter's probably viable.
Definitely. I agree.
Because they're going to play. They don't have really any reason not to play their starters. That's not a situation where I see guys like McBride or Harrison Jr. or Murray not playing at all. I think they just finished the season out as strong as they can.
I would agree. I think it is different for James Conner because he's hurt.
No. What I mean is, if all of the backfield guys are actually out and hurt, I expect the rest of the team to be out there.
So do I.
Rip and Sippin said Isaac Garendo rushing under, baby. Yeah, man, I bet that as well. We got that at 64.5, and it was that was a sweatless one. All right, so would you go to like a Ray Davis or a Blake Corum or a Kenny Gainwell? I got to ask you about these guys just because these are teams that may sit starters, but I think this is where the water gets murkier.
It's definitely where it gets murkier because, like, I always get confused by these situations in the sense of like those guys are still pieces of the puzzle. They're not the biggest
Absolutely.
pieces, but you're not like, all right, let's just give Gainwell 30 like that doesn't make a
No, I'd
lot of
rather go to
sense.
Will Shipley if anything,
Yeah,
but again,
that's
you've got Will Shipley possibly running behind this backup offensive line, which would still be good under Jeff Stoutland. But with either probably, I think Tanner McKee's going to start this week. So, and then you probably don't have AJ or Devontae.
I don't like situations like this.
Me
And
neither.
even with Buffalo, Buffalo could give, 5 carries to, 5 guys. And I worry about the situation with playoff teams that there will be no single player that gets enough volume to warrant it. So like Gainwell caught my eye. I have him on this list, but I think I'd rather go to a team that maybe is a little more keen to push it for one guy like the Tajay Spears of last week.
Fair enough, and I agree. There's value spots on a slate like this, and then there's legit preseason spots. I'm trying to avoid these preseason spots unless there's one caveat. If both teams are in full out preseason mode, then you might be able to make an argument that someone could actually be a pretty good play if you know the volume's going to be there. Because that's the one differentiating factor between week 18 and the preseason. A lot of times in the preseason, it's both backup teams, offense, defense, but then at the same time, it's a big time rotation. Excuse me, big time rotation at each position. If you get a spot where it's not a rotation and it's just like, hey, he's handling the bulk of the work against the backup defense, you could twist my arm there and get me to play those guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you just have to check as many of those boxes as you can, and then you roll the dice when you have these type of teams. But in week 18, it's a good worthwhile risk to take in a lot of these situations.
I hope this info is helpful for you guys going
Yeah.
into a week like this, because it is for me just talking through it, but I never know. I usually just do what I think is helpful and hope it helps other people.
I mean, I hear you. No, I do like to get into because again, we could rattle off, oh, well, these are the guys. Everybody knows that though. Everyone knows that Tampa needs to win. So yes, like we're
Yeah.
not breaking any news, but it's like, what about these next level gray areas? Let's talk through the if statements and
I
see what we
actually
can
think
find.
this is the most important first look show of the year because you, I actually think you need time to prep for a week 18 slate like this.
Definitely, because again, I think it's less about who you play and more
Mhm.
about like the kind of the logic behind it, if that makes sense.
It is. And I think if there were ever a slate where you might make some adjustments to the Sims to project, to make your own, inject your own bias in this, not bias, inject your own thoughts into some of this. Is there ever a better week than week 18 to do that?
No doubt. No doubt.
Wide receivers. I don't know what McVay's going to do. Do you want to touch anything from this Rams squad today? Because McVay scares me in these spots.
He treats every week like it's week 18 because I never know what he's gonna do.
Yeah, good point.
He
And now
drives
it
me
really is
nuts.
week 18, which makes it even more difficult.
So the most interesting thing about that is that everyone in the world, including me, is gonna have Mike Evans is in the Bijan Baker bucket of like he's got the incentive. They have to win. He's a monster. He's playing good football. He attaches to Baker. So any pivot you could get off of Mike Evans is going to be interesting, but I'm not sure there is simply a pivot up there worthwhile.
Well, here's the only reason Puka would be someone that probably doesn't land in a lot of my lineups unless unless we actually feel confident that these starters are going to play the whole game. Mike Evans is 8K in a phenomenal spot. I personally, Ben, if there's one incentive, and it's not a monetary incentive, it's a tie Jerry Rice for the most consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. I know it's 17 games, but it doesn't matter for him. I think they get it. I think they get him his 85 for sure. I'd be shocked if they didn't. And he's 8K. He's a touchdown monster. Brian Thomas is 7,300. Who just doesn't want to play Brian Thomas at this point? Malik Neighbors was questionable, ended up having the best game of his career. He's probably facing Philly backups. And say they're tanking or not, if Drew Lock and Malik Neighbors are out there and they play this whole game, I'm not shying away. those three guys to me above 7K, at least now, before we have definitive clarity in some of these spots, they're my three favorite guys up there, and it's not particularly close.
Yeah, I mean, again, those guys, the paths are pretty clear for one reason or another. And around them, I think it's just a lot of unknowns. And it's funny, there's a lot of games, but it's not that crowded of a range. Like
It's
we
not.
go, we get into the 6K range pretty quickly. So yeah, you just don't have that many options. And so I'll go to, if you want to take Evans, I'll take Brian Thomas, who's just been unreal. He has double-digit targets basically every week at this point. 5 straight weeks of
Yep.
double-digit targets. It's going to be 6 straight to close the year. I don't see why it wouldn't.
I know I'm a broken record here, but him and Mac Jones have a legitimate connection.
Yeah.
You don't have to love Mac Jones, but hey, look at Mac Jones attempted 22 passes last week. 22. 10 of them went to Brian Thomas. It's insane. Just a massive, massive target share. I'm not going to go Evans. I like Evans. I'm going Malik Neighbors.
Okay.
Listen, if you and I both know Neighbors is healthy, why would you not want to play more Malik Neighbors in this spot?
I hear you. You just saw it, no doubt. And you mentioned this is not the Eagles.
I have a hunch that DK Metcalf might be out this week. The guy's been dealing with injuries, and McDonald said that if whoever's healthy is going to play, but if they're not and they've been dealing with stuff, that they'll be out. Wouldn't shock me if DK Metcalf sits. If that's the case, JSN looks outstanding at 6,100 in the mid range. Lad McConkey, if they have something to play for, I'd love him. Or if Harbaugh just says, look, we're playing, everyone's playing. Sutton at 6,400, my guess is he's going to be pretty popular. Not a bad range here. Would you go to Drake London? I have really?
Yeah, I like Drake London this week. Again, I don't really know how good Penix is going to be, but I do know that Drake London's going to get his 13 targets in that game. That was a wild game, no doubt about it. And the touchdowns have been certainly few and far between recently. Through the first 7 games, he had 5 touchdowns, and now he has 7 on the year. So you worry a little bit about that, but at the same time, all hands on deck. It's still Drake London. He's still the alpha on the outside. If you don't play Bijan and you want Falcons exposure, I'm fine with that. And at the same time, it's not a range that I think is so crowded that the opportunity cost is massive. Sure, Sutton makes a lot of sense. And a couple of these other guys, I have London ahead of a guy like Ladd this week.
Okay, I don't, but I understand it. I could just see this being a extraordinarily low passing volume game from Penix and just a Bijan 30 touch game. I don't know. We'll see. JSN could just be the smash at 6,100 though. It's very possible.
JSN. He's such a good player. Big fan.
Sutton at 64. I like to bounce back a lot here for Sutton after that big Marvin Mims game. Sutton's been notorious this season for, whenever he has a terrible game, he wasn't terrible. He actually had a decent game, 5 for 55 and a touchdown, but he was second fiddle to Mims in that spot for sure. I like Sutton here. Jacoby Myers isn't bad either at 5,700. I'd entertain it.
I'd like to get some inferences on what the Chargers are doing.
That if the Chargers are sitting their guys, I would definitely, because if the Steelers win, Chargers are locked in the 6th seed. Locked. The Steelers lose, they have real incentive to get to the 5th. All right, low tier. I'm saying 5,500 and under. There's plenty down here.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley's down here.
He is. I think Pearsall, I mentioned on yesterday's strategy show and live before lock that I could see them just trying to get Pearsall the ball more, with the season over. Why not get your rookie first rounder who's coming off a gunshot wound to the chest? I'm not saying you do it like as a sympathy thing. I'm saying he missed the first 6 weeks of the season and then had been scarcely involved. 10 targets for this guy yesterday. So
he was on fire.
I could see Pearsall just once again. He had some amazing catches. This guy's legit. Guy's real legit. I could see Pearsall getting heavily involved. He's 4,100. I think that's good value. I think Olamide Zacchaeus could be good value. Jaden Daniels really likes it. I don't know how much he's going to play, but Wandale at 46. I'm just going from bottom to top. I like this this range down here.
Yeah, Zacchaeus is interesting. Obviously, when you 3 touchdowns in 2 games will make anyone look good. No doubt about it. You've got McMillan. He's going to continue to be in Buck stack, so he's probably going to be over-owned relative to the isolated interest, but he's, again, it's hard to argue with what Baker's doing. I think the 2 most interesting spots that I can't figure out are the indie guys. If Flacco gets the nod again, Pittman and Downs are right there. And then, let's not forget, and I certainly did last week, about Alec Pierce, who had 9 targets, 6 for 122 and 1, the home run hitter himself. So you have 3 Colts pass catchers within $300 of each other, and they all had really healthy volume. Pittman still saw double-digit targets in that game. Downs was the quiet one. He had 3 catches, 22 yards. Hard to decipher, but I don't think we should ignore these Colts pass catchers.
Man, I had some really nice lineups that Downs just sunk.
Yeah, I had the Colts defense, and that really sunk me.
Yeah, that's tough. But I mean, I'm looking over these lineups. I'm going, man, I had some good reads. I told you, I bet the Texans -19 or the Bucks -19.5.
Yeah, the alt lines. Yep.
Just playing for that route. You could feel it. The writing was on the wall. They absolutely dominated. I was loaded with Buck stacks. McMillan, Evans, Baker, even Durham had a decent game. Bucky Irving. And I'm looking over these lines. I'm like, man, I got a ton of Jonathan Taylor. Got a lot of this. And Josh Downs Josh Downs is one of my highest exposed players on the entire slate. I had so much of him.
Yep. I hear you. It was, but
I'd go right back to him this week.
That's what I mean. Like, I'm not really deterred by that.
I'm not at all. I almost like it more going into this week. It's a carousel over there. So if everyone jumps on Pittman, the field's sharper than they used to be, though. Downs isn't just going to be the odd man out from an ownership standpoint.
Nope. But yeah, that's kind of where I look, and I'm gonna go to, even though again there's multiple, we need news. I'd like to know who my pass catchers are getting the ball from, but I'm gonna go. Pittman is just my guy. I really believe if he can see 10 targets like that, he's not a $5,200 receiver. I don't care who's throwing him the ball.
You're right. Last one, would you go Mims?
Mims is Shaheed and Gabe Davis, where he's going to have these type of games, but he's not more likely to have this type of game because he had this type of game. And people somehow equate that. So probably not, only because he's overowned. I like Mims as a player. I just don't think I want to chase it because other people might.
Mimsy. You a South Park guy? All right, we'll move on to wide receiver or tight ends. If Pittman's your guy, I'll go Downs and we'll just cover.
So congratulations, Alec Pierce owners. Very good.
Man, me mentioning Mimsy and Downs in the same sentence. You wouldn't understand that. Jordan.
I wouldn't, but I'm getting there.
Oh, look at that. Hunter Thompson. Hunter S. Thompson.
So
NFL Sims max user since November. Got me to a build that won a $3,300 ticket off a $19, so I guess satellite, right? And turn that into $10K finish on Sunday. Thank you guys, worth every penny. Awesome, man.
That's the best. There's nothing cooler than that type of stuff.
Awesome. You can just get the Sims for free too, Ben.
Certainly can. And you get bonuses on top of it.
Yep. Link in the description. You see, join any sportsbook, get Stokastic Sims free. It's that simple. Click claim offer. Deposit. $5, whatever the minimum deposit is, depending on the book, or pick'em site if you're in a non-legal betting state. Use it wherever it is, or you go ahead, click claim offer, wherever you're located, whatever sports books are available to you. There's a ton on there, and pick'em sites. Follow those steps. Click it, deposit, takes a minute to get instantly verified, and then very simply, just place a bet. The moment that first bet settles, send us a screenshot of your welcome email and send us a screenshot of your first settled bet to support at Stokastic.com. You get a free month of core. It's a $100 value package. Plus, you get the bonus bets or the first match deposit bonuses from any of those books or sites. That's it. And if you aren't on, say there's like 4 of them you aren't on, and you're like, well, I have 25, 30 bucks laying around. Use it on them instead of a weekly package for one of our lower tier packages. Use it on them. You get 4 months of Sims core.
Yep.
And you can mix and match whatever sports you want. For real, man. Just the best, easiest way to get in. There's no doubt. No doubt. Link in the description. If you have questions about it, hit me up. But it's super straightforward. It's simple. 21 years old or gamble, gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. But that's it right there. That's the way in. That's the way in. All right. Tight ends. It's McBride for me. I just don't know how I get away from McBride up top. I still like him over Brock Bowers, unless the Chargers end up sitting guys.
We need indications, but if it's all systems go for Arizona, McBride for me, he was unreal. And the touchdown variance, it was just that type of year. That's, he scored last week finally. I will back him at 65 at home, no weather, of course. Yeah, fire him up.
There's no one else in that tier. Mid-range, there's really no one I like in the mid-range. The only guy I'd consider is potentially Kyle Pitts. I give me someone else if you have him. Hunter Henry, if Drake May starts, but it's looking like it's going to be Joe Milton, and the line would suggest that as well, with the Bills being 3-point favorites despite Josh Allen barely playing.
It's a quarterback roulette with the Titans, and they stink. Chig has been awesome though. He's got 28 targets in the last 3 games, no touchdowns, and he's still been pretty solid. So I don't think he's crazy, even though Tennessee's touchdown equity is terrible every single week.
Hey, I put him in the low tier, but he was my top guy.
Okay, that's fair.
For sure. And he has, I think, 4 targets over the last 3 weeks that don't show up in the box score because of defensive pass interference. He's kind of been a beast, man, even though they're bad. Chig's good. I really like him. And he's been getting praise heaped on him out there by the coaching staff. Chig outside of McBride or possibly Bowers is definitely my favorite tight end play this week.
Yeah, I mean, he fits a lot of what you want. I'll throw Juwan Johnson in there as well.
So throw him in as your low tier then.
Juwan Johnson's going to be my low tier guy.
Okay.
For sure.
I'll go Pitts mid tier, Chig low tier, and then Payne Durham if Otten is out.
Yeah. I mean, again, you want to attach to Tampa. It's a good idea. But yeah, Juwan Johnson, I played him last week. He had 10 targets. He had a 40-yard catch called back on top of what he did. He's just going to be continuously busy, and he's on the opposite side of the Tampa game, which is nice.
One defense under 3K to wrap up the regular season. Man, it's sad to see it go.
Yeah, playoffs. A lot of playoff football coming our way.
That's true. We'll still be doing the first look show. You're right.
No doubt about it. New England.
I don't mind that. I think it's Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And the thing I like about Mitch Trubisky, it's not the type of game where they're like, oh yeah, we're just going to do nothing and run. Like, no, Trubisky's going to be slinging it. That's what you want.
I think you could go Giants against Huntley or Jets against Huntley. That's gross, but it's not crazy. You could probably even go Arizona against Dobbs if they sit guys in San Francisco. You might be able to go Vegas. Listen, if Justin Herbert doesn't play, I'm not joking when I say that Vegas would probably be the best defensive play on the slate.
Yeah, I mean, the defenses are going to be, a lot of them, in crazy positions this week because of personnel.
Yep. Taylor Heineke is bad.
I mean, it's not good.
No, like this guy, whatever magic they had for a period in Washington, that dissolved quickly from everything I've. And then if it's Easton Stick, my God, Easton Stick is worse than bad.
That guy's just been around. Easton Stick's just been there for like.
He's been on the Chargers for what feels like forever.
I know.
We don't even need. We just do this for fun at the end. But you'll have the pick of the litter here at defense by Sunday.
Definitely.
Hey, appreciate you guys. Follow Ben at Jazzraz Bets. Check out all of his work that he's doing over there. Some great picks as well over on Tails. And yeah, guys, $25 for the entire month for portfolio EV. Stick with, like you said, man, stick with it for a month. You'll see results. That's fair to say. Like you're good. If you stick with it for a month, unless something that we've never seen before happens, you're going to see results. That's all I can say, man.
I mean, yeah, listen, it's sports betting. The edges are incredibly thin, but when you find ways to have back tested results, uh, that's the best way to stay ahead of the markets. Just rely on the actual data, simply make the bets and see for yourself. Like I said, after a month, you make your own decisions. But that's a nice runway to really see the full power of what a lot of us are doing.
And just get volume down. Get volume down. Mass entry tool makes it easy. Takes no time at all. Thanks, guys. It's been a wonderful regular season. Thanks to all of you. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. We'll be back with you, well, Sunday, but then wild card weekend. We're not going anywhere. So have a great rest of the day. Happy New Year to everybody. Yes. Don't drive.
No.
Just don't drive.
That's dumber than going to the ball. Just be smart. Be safe. Don't do anything crazy. Just enjoy yourselves. And 2025 going to be a good year at Stokastic, and we're excited for you guys to be part of it.
Yeah, man. All right, we'll see you back here soon. Peace.